Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I'm guessing things look a little different. This is also really different. I got a whole new setup here. So I bought a new desktop, a new monitor, and a new camera. And I didn't do it just for recording. That was not the only reason to do it. I really wanted to do, well, to be fair, some, maybe a little. There's a percentage in there where I wanted to try to see if some of the recording issues I've been having with my laptop just not being what could arguably be beefy enough to handle my recordings or just any recordings. You know, it seems like it's always slowing down. It seemed like it was just having some issues, and it's a fine laptop, like I've said many times, but I kind of wondered if maybe recording is just not the way to go with it. So I invested and got a whole new setup here, and I've been trying it out tonight to see how to get levels to work and things with the mic to work and the camera to work. Really, the mic has been the biggest, I say, problem out of anything. It seems to be kind of, I don't want to say crackling, because hopefully when this video goes out, you're not going to hear any of that. But it's been a lot of just adjusting and going, what works, what doesn't, what can I put on as an effect in Camtasia, what can't I, and just a lot of playing around, trying to get this all to work. And to some degree, you know, now that I've sat down for a couple of hours and did this, I think that's somewhat fair to expect it just to come right out of the gate and everything worked just fine. Was probably hoping for a little bit too much. I mean, it is amazing in this day and age that I can buy a new computer, plug everything in, and add some apps that I use like Visual Studio and other things, and do the necessary updates that you have to do with Windows. But I mean, it was quick. I remember years ago where it was such a laborious process to get a machine up and running, and not just running, but running with everything you want set. The capabilities that machines have now with OneDrive or whatever you use for backup and restore and personalization and settings, it's so much better. It is so much better than whatever it was before. And, you know, I have to say that that's been a very nice experience. So, but as you can see with me in File Explorer, I've been putting videos here, deleting them, putting them here, deleting them, and so on. So that's not really what I want to be doing. What I want to be doing is writing some code. Now, for this video, I'm hoping to keep it very short. In fact, if this video is a very short video, that's fine. I'm not going to be doing anything real interesting within Rocks. What I want to do is just add 2 NuGet packages that I found. I mean, that's what I get when I do this list down here, and see what happens. And mostly this, again, is just a test of the new recording process and does it all work? Are there any hiccups with it, and so on. One other thing that I'm trying is I'm using the recorder to record everything again. I was getting so frustrated on my laptop that I started to record using the sound recorder for audio and just the Camtasia recorder for the camera and the screen. And then I had to keep syncing it up. You never saw that, but I was constantly doing, you know, when I would pause or come back, and I'd do a couple of claps with my hand because I had to sync them all up again. Now, with editing on a newer, beefier machine, that should also be easier if I have to go down that route. But I don't really know yet. Again, all this is very new, so that's why I've decided to do something very simple. Let's just add a couple of packages and see what happens in this code generation test app. If I do find any bugs, I'll mark them down to check out later. But this is just to test the waters a little bit with a simple video, you know, rather than me just speaking for like 30 seconds and going, oh, that didn't sound well, or this is fine, and then going, well, what else can I try? This is a little bit longer of a test. So you got to test, right? You got to do alphas and betas. Everybody's got to test. So this is how many different setups have I had? I was thinking if I go back to when I actually started recording code videos, that was probably in like 2016 or 2017. I'm not really sure. I'd have to go back and look. Actually, let's do that. I was doing newest and I was like scrolling through and I'm like, why am I doing that? Do oldest to newest. So the first one was actually 5 years ago. So roughly 5. I mean, can you hover over this and get the exact date? No, you can't. So 5 years ago. And that would have been 2019. It doesn't sound right. It feels like I've been maybe doing it 2018, 2019. So maybe again, the year's a little bit different here, but I think I was using my old company's laptop. And then when I joined Rocket, I got my own. So that was my own laptop. And then when I got this, so this is like version 3 of my setup. So this is like version 3 alpha 1, something like that. Okay, so the 2 packages I'm going to add are this Kyoto from Microsoft. It's like, I think it's a way to generate like an SDK from an API, like an API, a REST API. And so I heard about it. I'm just going to add this one package in and let's see what that does. If I go to here and I say manage NuGet packages. So let's add that in there. Yeah, don't add. See, down here on the left, I'm also getting the don't show this again because even though most of the things like with Visual Studio are the same settings that I've had before, there's still sometimes things that don't quite come through. Like I don't have any toolbars at the top. And that was mostly true when I installed it on this machine, but there were still a couple places where it showed up. I'm like, no, I don't want any of that. So yeah, this one looks totally legitimate, by the way, totally legitimate. That doesn't look anything bad at all. Why do people do that? So let's install, don't show this again. I only want to see, yeah, if I have got to accept a license, I will do that. But, oh, that's interesting. Why is it like completely barking on my integration tests? That's bizarre. Huh, whatever. Okay. I don't know. Sometimes, and I usually put these in order too. So let's say new type, come on, type of, what do we just put in here? API client builder. And then that. There's actually an article, I'll try to remember to put this in here, about the benefits of the trailing comma. And it's from Raymond Chen. I just saw it today. It's great. I used to not be into the trailing comma, but now I find it so very useful. All right, so we don't want these anymore. Let's just see what this one does. Now, by the way, I usually cut out that time, and I'm going to make a point to leave that in. That time is still, there's a little bit of a delay. One of it is just rocks. To compile it sometimes takes time. You notice I got these errors. I'm going to have to look at that later. But the time I usually would take, I would cut all that out. I'm going to leave that in just this once, even though that's a little bit too long of a pause, because that to me was so much better than what I had before. So that's good. If I can just get the sound to be what I want it to be, then I think we've got a winning solution here. Okay, so we have 36 types and nothing failed. So I guess that's a good thing. And what was the other one I wanted to pick? This thing called Wisp. You may be wondering, what is Wisp? This is another one I just heard of. And again, this stuff, let's do include pre-release. Patrick Svensson. Yeah, I noticed he was posting some things talking about writing a PDF library, which of course there's lots of them out there, but I like it when people try to tackle things that have been done before, because it makes you go, why are they doing this? What could they do something better? Are they going to take a different approach to it? So I thought, let's give this a whirl. So we're going to throw that in here and say, sure, let's accept, come down here, and let's copy this, put this down there. And now we're going to want to do wisp something or other, right? Wisp dot iByteReader. Is there anything in here that we can mock? Okay, so one, well, wait a minute. There's 4 types. Yeah, I read that wrong. 4 types and no errors. So, or at least I don't think I'm getting any errors. So that's good. So I'm just going to leave these 2 libraries in there and have them come along for the ride when I do more testing with this. So hopefully if you're seeing this video, it means that the editing process was pretty good and I can now continue on with the settings that I have with everything I'm gonna have to make some notes to be like, okay, make sure that's set to that thing and this value set to this thing and do this and not that and all this other stuff, because otherwise I'm going to forget. But in any event, so in the next video, one way or the other, I'm going to figure this out. This is not like I'm never going to do this again on this machine. I am absolutely committed to this. I'm going to make this work. Okay. In fact, I'm now looking at this. Can I bring my monitor down anymore? No, I can't. So this is a little high for me, but there's nowhere, it's got to sit on top of the monitor. So, and I don't want it over there or anything like that. So that's going to have to live with it. And I'm just going to have to get used to looking up a little bit more, but I'd rather look up than look down, because then looking down is a bad thing. Anyway, I'm babbling. In the next video, I hope to start either sharing some things I found during profiling, because that is going to take some work just to find out where things are at. I was thinking a little bit about just the fact of when I'm doing, for example, let's close this out and come back over here. And when I'm creating in like my models and I go to a mock model and, oh yeah, that's where we do all these things. Okay. And then we eventually come down to a type mock model. Not a type reference model. The type mock model is the whole thing. And so like in here, I think what would be interesting is instead of like because I'm almost convinced that the discovery of all of the method symbols and type symbols, and then we transform that into a model, I'm almost 100% convinced that part isn't the slow part, but I could be wrong. And I got to be open to that. But I think there's things like when I get all the methods here and I turn them all into method models, I think there's things that I can do to say, would this, as I'm adding these things, like I get a two immutable array, what I should also do is be nice to capture if I have at least one method for explicit interface implementation, then I know I've got to do that. And I think later on, I always do an any. And sure, those are relatively quick, but that could be one thing is as I'm going through things, when I know I'm going to do them later, just calculate that out here and do that here. And hopefully try to eliminate all the for each loops that I'm doing. But again, I don't want to jump to conclusions. That's why I need to do profiling work, because I know that there's improvements that can be done here. It's just a matter of finding them. And that's what I hope to do in the next video, along with some other things. There's lots of other things that I need to do, and I always keep talking about that. There's never a shortage of things to explore and look at. I just want to make sure that I can record them and that they sound decent and look good. So, thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.